Hi guys, so this video is going to introduce you to Platinum Planner. I filmed this video yesterday and for some reason I could not get it to upload by any means. So here I am again, going to try this one more time and see if we can get it right this time. Alright, so when you're on the Platinum Planner screen, login screen, if you have already created your account, then you should be able to just simply log in. And it's going to bring you to your dashboard. Now your dashboard's going to look a little different than mine because I have several things going on, several courses, labs, scenarios, opportunities. But the basis of what you should see is this column that should have your student account in EMS testing and your student account in Platinum Planner. All right, so let me jump over to EMS testing for a quick second, and I'm going to show you what it would be like from a student perspective. So I'm just going to log in as a student really quickly. And I'm just going to log in as Joelle. And so from a student perspective, this is what your EMS testing account would look like. And so you see several things right here. First, underneath the class, you see this adaptive testing button. All right, and then down here you're going to see your assignments. Once you have some grades, there will also be a button here that says view your grade book. But anytime you're looking to get your actual factual grade percentage, you're going to be looking in Blackboard. Don't rely on this EMS testing one because you're going to have additional grades like those Blackboard quizzes and things like that. So you're going to check Blackboard for your actual grade. All right, down here we'll tell you what's open. Currently you don't have any assignments open in EMS testing, but you have one coming up next week. So if you click on upcoming, it would come down and it would show you these are things that are coming up, when they're due, how many questions is it, so on and so forth, so you can get some good information there. Now, really quickly, I'm just going to kind of talk about why this is important for you to use this adaptive testing button for practice testing, okay? So for adaptive testing, it's going to introduce you to test questions. Now, the way that things work with EMS testing is that the questions don't come directly from a textbook. When I upload the quizzes into Blackboard for you guys, those questions that I'm putting in are coming directly from your textbook manufacturer. That's why you can find the answers there in the textbook, just to make sure and kind of help you read along with those chapters. When you start taking your first assignment next week in EMS testing and then your first exam the next week, you're going to see that these questions are worded a little differently. And that's because they're not simply information recall, but they're more about this is a potential scenario and then what would you do in that scenario. Okay, so questions are weighted a little bit differently, so I'll explain that for a quick second. So if you were to take a paper test in class that had 100 questions, you would expect that each question would be weighted at 1 point per question. But it's not that way with the way that the system with EMS testing works, and that's because the state exam is not that way. So it's to set you up and prepare you for that. So the questions here are written by test writers, and they are weighted based off the difficulty of the question and also the difficulty of the answer choice. So they look and say, is that one obviously correct answer and 3 dummy answers? That's a very low weighted question, right? It's easy for you to answer. All the way up to the very highest weighted question, which would be where there is 1 correct answer, but 3 other potentially correct answers. Now that's not to trip you up, but it is just to exercise those critical thinking skills that you're going to need for this career field and also for those state and national registry exams, okay? Now how that helps you is that when you have those higher weighted questions like that, it will still assign you some points based off of the answer that you give, even if it's a wrong answer, okay, because they're just looking to see what your thought process was. So that's why they use what's called a cut score. All right, and so raw score would be if you got 68 questions right, you get a 68. The cut score means that if you got 68 questions right, you might get an 84. I just use that for an example of how the weight can help you. It will never ever hurt you. It will only help you. Now with that comes the fact that we have to keep these tests secured so it will never tell you what you get right and wrong. I know that sucks. I'll tell you right up front. That's one of the biggest things that I hear from students, and I sympathize with you. However, with our national accreditation with COAMPS, we have to keep our quizzes and exams that come from EMS testing secured. That means that you're going to be required to download a software called Secure Testing for EMS testing to run and function on your computer that will lock your computer screen. And so for that, whenever you have a test or a quiz open, it's not going to allow you to leave the screen, and it's also going to notify you if you are doing any type of suspicious activity, like trying to copy and paste or screenshot. If that happens, and this was just implemented by EMS testing earlier this year, or the end of last year rather, if you have if you are caught trying to copy and paste or screenshot any material from a test or a quiz, the first time it's going to lock your account for 3 minutes. If it happens again, and I don't mean again that day or in that test, I mean ever, it's going to lock your account for 10 minutes. And if it happens a third time, then it is going to completely shut down your account and lock you out of it, and you would not be able to continue on in the course because you would no longer have access to your quizzes, to your labs, to your clinicals. Okay, and there's nothing that we as a college can do about that. That is just how the system works, and unfortunately we have lost one paramedic student because of this. So it really is that serious. All right, you need to make sure that you are not doing anything suspicious like that when you have these quizzes and tests open. So like I said, it's never going to tell you the answers you got right and wrong or exactly what you saw there, but what it will do if you're utilizing the adaptive testing is expose you to more test questions. Now when I create your tests and quizzes, I read through these questions and I choose the questions and try to make sure that they make sense, that the answer choices make sense before I put them on there. With adaptive testing, you are exposed to all the questions in the test bank depending on what you're choosing for. And so with that being said, you might run into some questions that maybe don't make a lot of sense or are a little confusing, or maybe have a blatantly wrong answer that you know that we have talked about that's different for the state of North Carolina. So again, just make sure that you are very cautious, and if you have a question about anything that you see in here, you can jot it down, make a note of it, email me, we can talk about it, but just don't try to copy and paste or screenshot anything, okay? So I'll show you really quickly how to utilize the adaptive testing. Again, this is simply for you to be able to take, and I did this yesterday, like I said, when I filmed the previous video, so I'll just show you the example here. Now I took this as 30 questions and I just guessed the answers really quickly on screen to move through it in the video, so I only got 8 questions right out of those 30. But the point of this was to show you that even though it doesn't tell you what you got right and wrong, even when you're doing this, when you use the adaptive testing, it does create kind of a study guide for you. So if you come down here, it will break it down and say, these are the areas that you need to focus on. And then maybe if you have something in yellow or green, then you did a little bit better on those. All right, so maybe not have to put as much focus on those answers. So that's what the adaptive testing will do for you. And if you have any questions about that, you can just let me know. Again, this doesn't count for a grade, doesn't count against you. I don't see it unless I specifically go looking for it. So you can utilize these to really help you and expose you to test questions to prepare for both your exams here in class, but also for your exam, for your state exam. So I'll just kind of show you really quick how you would set that up and be able to choose it. That's what the results look like at the end. But if you were choosing a new one, again, you can choose it to be not timed, which would ask you about 30 questions, or you can see how many questions it will ask you in 30 minutes if you choose timed. All right, and then again, coming down here, you can choose educational standards or module and topic. It just kind of rearranges the information how it's presented. For this first exam, we'll be covering preparatory stuff, but again, you can come in as we progress through the course and choose these individual areas that you want it to ask you questions about. You would just choose it and click Start Test. Okay. Now, we're going to go back and I'm going to show you how to sign up for lab and kind of talk about that really quickly. I filmed another video and it did upload successfully, so that information is already posted regarding how to sign up for clinical opportunities and how to document clinical opportunities to go along with the material that we discussed with communication and documentation. So down here, I'll get over into a student account really quick for Platinum Planner. And since I was already using Joelle's account, I'll just use hers again. So this is what your student account would look like here. Again, on your home page. Now you can see this is where I used Joelle's account yesterday when I've tried to film this the first time. So it shows that she signed up for the lab, and then this would be like feedback. So if I return a documentation, I rejected this just to clear the system, and that's what I said. You know, I used this for an example, and I just rejected it to clear the system. But if I return this to her to make corrections, those would be listed here as well. So just keep that in mind when we just talk about labs for a quick second. Now you'll be working in labs while we're here on campus, so I'll be here to help you, but I just wanted to introduce you to the process here in Platinum Planner. So again, you'll come up to labs, click on available labs. You're going to select your class. There should only be one option there. And then you'll see there's a lab open. You're going to click sign up and then sign up again. Now that's going to move from here, and now it's going to be located under My Labs. So if you click on My Labs, you should see this here for today, and you would be able to click Edit Documentation. And now everything that you see is going to be what you're going to be covering that day. I will have already uploaded skills for that. Like I just used this one for an example. And so every time that you perform a skill, you would come in and click Add New Attempt. And then you would be filling out these boxes here. So let's say we're going to practice this nasal cannula on an adult. It's a low fidelity mannequin. If it was a live person that we were practicing on, we would use live. If I was choosing a peer instructor to check me off, I would choose their name here. If I was choosing my instructor, I need to type the instructor's name in. I need to type the instructor's name in right here just so I know who it was whenever I'm looking at it and evaluating. And then that person would check you off in real time. So as you're performing the skill, they would come in and mark these boxes and give you a real and accurate feedback. If you passed the skill, you were successful, they would click pass, can type any notes here if they had them, and then again, they would type in their name again here at the bottom. And then most forms have a signature box. Not all of them do, but most do. And you want to really go in and make sure you shine this close to the same way every time. That way I can kind of look for any issues of falsification. We talked about how important falsification is during communication and documentation. We don't want to do that, want to avoid it at all costs. Platinum Planner is a very smart system. I can see everything is time stamped when things were done. I can even go back and track what IP address it was done from. So everything needs to be completed here on campus. You should never be documenting any of these off campus as far as lab skills. So again, if this was successful, I would click successful, save. And then again, now that documentation is there. If this was at the end of today's lab, then she would just come in and click on Submit Lab. And she has an instructor review, so it's automatically going to submit to my instructors because that's all she has. If she had some peer reviews, it would probably pop up with their names as well down here to show who do you want to submit to. You should always submit to instructors. If you submit to a peer, I'm not going to be able to see that, okay? So just click Submit Documentation so that we can again clear that system, and then that would be now listed under the Submitted tab right here. Okay, so like I said, don't totally sweat this Platinum Planner thing in regards to the labs. The EMS testing is a little bit easier, pretty self-explanatory, but I just wanted to answer some questions about why those questions are worded the way that they are and give you a little intro there. As far as Platinum Planner in your first lab, we'll be working on that next weekend, and I'll be here to explain all of that to you guys in person. I just wanted to introduce you to the system right now. All right, so I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Hopefully this video will upload and catch the other videos I uploaded this week so that you are prepared for class next weekend.